So welcome to the TESS Basics. So what I'm showing you guys right now on the screen is my dashboard, which looks a little bit different than yours because obviously I can see a little bit more in TESS. But just some basics with the dashboard. So up here in the, let me see here. There we go. I'm going to draw. So up here, you kind of have your trips and booking workspace. So you've got your trips in progress and upcoming. And so it's got some of the different ones that are there. So we've got some sandals that are still going on. We've got someone that's going to Walt Disney World. That's, at least in my view, that's like everybody. So just so you guys know, I don't use the screen a whole lot because my stuff kind of gets mixed and mingled in. This section here with the tasks due can be a little bit helpful. We're going to go through tasks in the kind of advanced session, but this can be really helpful because it can you can see here, I've got a thank you note that's past due that I need to write that I didn't get done before I went on vacation. I've got some other thank you notes I need to do. I need to finish up some Magic Band stuff and book some fast passes, and then I've got another thank you note. Over here, you've just got your sales for 2019. Again, mine is company-wide, but on an individual agent basis, this is actually really helpful because you can see here in the yellow, I've got, oh my gosh, sorry. Hang on here. We're gonna pause things from recording. All right. So we just kind of went through the dashboard. So some of this stuff we'll go through in the advance, but it is really nice here with the sales because you can actually compare the sales that you did this year versus last year. So again, I'm seeing kind of the company information as a whole, so my view looks a little bit different. But what I really want to focus on is kind of going through the different basics here of TESS and what you guys need and should be doing. This is a really powerful tool, which is really, really nice. And it actually allows us to, there we go. It allows us to, not just manage our trips, but also manage our clients, which is really great. So I always start over here in trip management, okay? And I have trips over here, okay? So again, these are some of the different trips that are out there. But when you're creating a trip, you want to start here with the green plus sign. So you want to click on this. And most of the trips that you are going to make are just regular trips. All right, and that'll pull up a new trip that we're going to make today. So the trip type, this is really more for your information. It's really not anything that we use necessarily as a company. I think as we become a little bit more diversified in terms of our offerings, it is something that we could use, but you can choose any of the different trip types. Anniversary, business trip, honeymoon, vacation, wedding. Most of us pick vacation or honeymoon, to be perfectly honest. So we'll do that. You do have to enter the start date. Okay, so we're just going to make a trip here that's going to start on November 15th, and it is going to end on November 21st. Okay, trip status is active. There's some different things that you can do with that. It can actually cause different events to happen in terms of some of the automation. But again, that's not something that we really track. That's really more something for you as an agent to help you track your different things. Now, this trip description is actually really important. And a lot of times when I'm kind of looking at some different things in TESS, I actually see a lot of people who aren't entering things necessarily the best way into TESS. Like for instance, if I were to go right now and do a search of, for trip descriptions of Walt Disney World, because this is what actually shows up on that page, I would probably get about 30 of them. And unfortunately, some of those 30 will also be from, the same agent. So I could have an agent that has 5 or 6 of them with the Walt Disney World. So we need to make sure that this descriptor is accurate and that it is actually useful to us as a company. So what we want you to do here is to incorporate the last name of the client. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so Koshak. And then the locations. So you can, if you're doing Disney, you can abbreviate WDW, you can do sandals. And then you want to do the month and year, because as we know, some of our clients come back and repeat with us time and time again. So that way you know which trip you're actually selecting of theirs. So Koshak sandals, we're going to do October, or no, it's November. November, and it would help if I could spell. Okay, 2019. That's really all you need. That's descriptive. So for instance, if there's something that you need Jill's help with, you know, we can actually get in there, we can pull up the details of the trip, we can actually see the confirmation number and all that kind of stuff, so that, you know, if she's talking to Sandals or she's talking to Disney about the trip, we've kind of got the information and we can pull it up quickly and easily for our reference, because we are not as familiar with these clients. It's always a good idea to save at this point, just because it kind of saves everything. And at this point now, we're ready to build our trip. And what you've got to understand is this is the way I kind of think of the trip is a binder. And each of the components of the trip are pages or leaflets within that binder. So for example, I can add a resort. So they're going to go to Disney. So I'm going to have them stay at Disney's Contemporary Resort. Okay. And excuse me, you'll see that that actually auto-fills for us, and that'll pop it up. Now you do have the opportunity here to add a room category. So that TESS actually pulls this straight from the Disney site. So these are the room categories that they're like suppliers that who feed information into them list. So sometimes it doesn't quite match up, but it's pretty darn close. So you've got, you know, Tower Bay Lake View, you've got Main Tower Theme Park View, Main Tower Lake View, which is kind of the same as Tower Bay Lake View. So let's just say they're going big, they're going to go to Tower Theme Park View. Obviously, we can't fill in the room number because they don't get that assigned until check-in. But one thing you do want to notice here, especially if you're trying to make sure everything is kind of in time order, TESS defaults the times here to midnight and midnight. And we know that that's not realistic. I usually base it a little bit off of their flights, for example. You know, just as, you know, I try to kind of make everything in chronological order. So we've got their resort on there. Now, with Disney, you also have the confirmation number. We know that that is for, you know, for a package, that's an 8 number. For the room only, that's a 12 number. Okay, and that's going to go in there. And what you've got to understand with the room only is you actually have 2 separate numbers. You've got the resort confirmation number and you have the travel plan number. You want the resort confirmation number to go here because that's what you're going to use to look it up in DTA and when you call in. The travel plan number we're going to use in a little bit, but that's kind of a little difference with Disney, is that not all confirmation numbers with room onlys are created equal. Okay. So we've got that. Now let's say we're booking a package. So I'm just going to make it 1775 8204. Okay. And we're going to save that. Just making sure that I haven't duplicated. No, I haven't. All right. So because it's a package, we know it's going to have tickets, and it could also have dining. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to click Add Activity. And you'll see here it adds some other things that aren't in the colored along the top. So we want to add tickets here. Okay. And it defaults this to the last day of the trip. Again, you can shuffle the dates around however you wish. But let's say they're going to do a 5-day park hopper. And it should kind of come up. Okay. Now, I know they're not called Magic Your Way anymore, but it works. You don't need a confirmation number here because we've included it with the package. That's the standard verbiage that we have. Okay. We can also add a dining plan. Okay. So let's say they want to add the Disney dining plan. Now you'll notice we can choose deluxe, we've got Disney dining plan, and we have the quick service. We're going to do regular Disney dining plan. Okay, this gives some description of that for their package, and that kind of gives you some basics. You can also add Magical Express here, which is a transfer. You can also do Logic if you're doing one of EOB's transfers. Let's say you're doing a universal booking. That works well. All right, so you can throw that in here, and we've got preloaded the Magical Express verbiage for both arrival and departure. So arrival is when they're arriving to the resort, departure is when they are departing, and so you can add that in there. I'm just going to choose arrival even though it's the wrong date, so you have to make sure you kind of adjust those dates. Okay, so again, I'm just going to quick save here so I don't lose anything. Adding flights sometimes is kind of the trickiest part with this, because when you add a flight, you have to use the two-letter designation for the airline, and that's not always intuitive. For example, Southwest is WN. All right, you would think it would be SW. It's not. There's a lot of different websites out there that actually have the airline two-letter codes. You can actually see here I've got a bookmark. I use a site called Airfare Watchdog because I always forget that Frontier is F9 and Allegiant is G5 if I'm remembering right. So it helps out. So I'm going to throw in Allegiant or Southwest flight number 558. Let's see here. And I know yep, it's going from Austin to Chicago, and I know that's not the right destination, but when you pull that up, it actually, when you put in the right flight number, it'll pull it up based on the release schedule for the airline, which is nice. So let's just say all of a sudden now they're going to Chicago, even though we know that's not the right city. You can add a flight segment. You can do a lot of different things. So you can add their departing flight. You can also add their return flight, you know, into here. So really helpful. It kind of keeps everything together for you. You can also add, you know, a rental car. You can add a tour, cruises. Cruises, you've got to be a little bit careful. You know, just typing in Disney isn't going to work. I usually actually use the ship name. And then it'll kind of pull it up based on your dates that you have entered. Sometimes the cruises are a little slow in loading into TESS. And again, that's just based on some of their partners that they work with to get all of those itineraries loaded into TESS. Sometimes that's a little slow. So you just have to be a little patient with it at times. All right, so I've got this trip. Actually, let me save it real quick here. Now, I could add, like I said, I could add other things in here, but right now I'm, you know, looking at this trip, I've got basically two things here with, you know, two bookings that either I've done or the client has done if they did the air on their own. But this is nice because it gives me a nice snapshot of their trip. Okay, so, you know, at the initial booking, this is kind of what you would see. You kind of see the framework, and you know you're going to add to it. But before we can move on, we've got to make sure we have travelers associated with this. And that's super important, especially with our Orlando trips, because this is the information that Lakin uses for the cupcake orders. So you want to go over here to add traveler. And I actually do this last. You know, I kind of set my trip up first, and then I can work on my travelers. Now with Disney, it is really important that you make sure that whoever is the lead guest, which is the first guest that you give to Disney on the phone or that you put in as guest one, if you're booking it online, you list them as the primary. And the reason why is that that's kind of the control name for the entire reservation. So, you know, when Lakin pulls her report, she pulls it so that she sees that lead guest name. All right, so our client is going to be Craig Koshak, and guess what? He doesn't exist. So need to create a new client here. So I get this pop-up window, and I can fill in some basic information for him. So I happen to know his birth date, which is 09/06/1973. His phone number, and I usually put dots in between just because I can't read, you know, 10 numbers strung along like this. So, and his email address is, no, it's not, it's sale@gmail.com. Now, that's the basic information that we need. So we're going to create that client and we're going to save it. Okay. So it tells exactly how old he's going to be and everything, which is really nice, especially for the kids, because if you book them, then you don't have to always get the ages of the kids at time of travel, and sometimes clients get confused with that. So, and obviously that does affect pricing. I'm going to add another traveler here. Now she's not listed first, so I'm going to make her the secondary. Okay, so again, I'm going to create a new one. And I don't know her birth date and not remembering her email address, but that's okay. I can always fill that in later. Okay, and I can save that. All right, so I've got my 2 clients. I've at least got their names in. Now, obviously, you want to get more information about these clients in here. So to do that, all you have to do is click on their name. Now, you could do this earlier in the process. I like to kind of get the trip set up and get them linked first. But in here, I can enter their address. So 1190 Angel Lane, Toledo, Ohio, 43604. No, 4. Okay. You can even put in their passport details. So if they're doing an international trip. I find that this one section here is super helpful. The TSA pre-check, KTN, the known traveler number, because that helps with airline booking if you're actually doing the booking for things. Okay. Sorry, people are messaging me. So that way that they can get their pre-check designation on their boarding passes. All right, so I can add in things here. You want to choose the client gender. He is male, and I'm going to save this before I do anything else. Okay, so this looks pretty good. The next tab here that I want to draw your attention to is the tracking tab. And the tracking tab is where you can do things like add a credit card. So I could go in here. If he gives me his credit card number, I can get the name, the credit card, the expiration. And the nice thing is I don't have to retype the address if it's the same. I can just do it one click. I do need to pull down, and you need to actually use the pull down here because sometimes it will default and not work correctly. That it, it won't accept the credit card. Okay, so I'm not going to add his credit card right now just because for our purposes it's not necessary. All right, the other thing you can do is you can add a relationship. So for instance, I happen to know that his wife is Lauren, who I added before. And I can save that. And his mother is also on here, just as an example. Because I know she's in here. Come on, I know you're in here. There we go. Boom. Okay. So you can create these linkages. So you can do husband, wife, you can do mothers, children, all that kind of stuff. Now, just because I linked Lauren to Craig as his wife, if I go onto Lauren's profile, Craig will not be linked there as her husband. So you have to do it for individual clients. So sometimes that can get to be a little bit of a pain, but it is kind of nice that you know that, all right, this is kind of how this happened type of thing. Now, let's say I'm done here and I want to go back to the trip. Well, it's really easy because I can actually go click on this right here and it'll take me right back to their trip. Boom, brings me right back. Okay. So we go along with our, Disney trip here, and we've got our Disney trip and we've got our flights that are in there right now. So in order to make sure that we have all the information we need for commission, for instance, we want to be interested here in the bookings tab. Okay, so with the bookings tab, you want to add a booking. All right, and the booking number, of course I can't remember the booking number I just made up off the top of my head, so bear with me because I forgot. Okay, that's one of the kind of downfalls of this sometimes. All right, so the booking number that I had was 17758204. The booking date, let's say I booked it on July 1st. All right, and the operator is Walt Disney. So you can see here, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. If I did sandals, it would do sandals. I know we use that for the title. So you can see the operators that are in here are the vendors that we work with. All right. So the package price is going to be $5,734.56. Okay. Now the commission projected. Now this is required. You just enter that, and that will come directly from the agent portion that you see. You know, in DTA, it's down at the bottom. On something like sandals, they have it on the agent copy of things. So you throw that in there. You can put in a commission of 0. That is fine. All right, for airfare and stuff, you can do that. The final payment date is going to be 30 days prior. So for them, that's going to be October 16th. Okay, booking status is active. You don't have to put something in here for the booking description, but you can. And on some of your more complicated trips, you might want to. I'll actually show you kind of a completed trip, actually of mine for my Disneyland trip. I was teasing Jill. I said, I think I've got the most bookings ever. I think I had like 12 of them on there for that California trip that we had. So this is set up. And when you go to the trip information page, you will actually see this here on the front. So you'll see now that this is showing up under bookings and payments. Now it's not showing that there's any payments here. So let me show you how to make a payment or record a payment for a client. So you go back into the booking. I just clicked on the number. And what you have here is you've got a couple of tabs that pop up once you have a booking in and you're in the booking itself. The first one is receipts. So it does allow you to send receipts to the client. Most of our vendors that we work with actually give us receipts, you know, confirmations of payments, which I think our clients prefer. But if need be, we can actually generate one. But we can also record payments here. And so you just click on the payment tab and you'll click on add payment. All right, payee client. So in other words, who made the payment? So Lauren, I know, is in charge of the budget. So she made the payment and she made the initial deposit, which as we know is $200. And she did that on July 1st. Now, I don't have a credit card. Notice how that symbol kind of comes up, the red, you know, the red circle with the slash. So I can't designate that it came from a credit card because I don't have one associated with her. But let's say she didn't use a credit card. A lot of our clients use Disney gift cards. So I actually note that on here when they don't use a credit card. I'll say, you know, Disney gift card. Okay. Payment authorization, that's something that's with the advanced package, and I'll be going over that when we do the advanced package training. So you don't have to worry about that for right now. But I can click on save. And the nice thing here is for this shows this particular booking and the payments that have been made. So the package price was $5,734.56. They've paid the initial deposit of $200. So the balance remaining is $5,534.56. And I can just keep adding payments as they make it. And this will also be reflected then on the trip information page. So the nice thing is that you can actually access all of your clients' information electronically through TESS. I know when I started that I had all this paper, and you know, invariably I needed to do something for a client, like, you know, when I was out in California, for example, and so I'd be playing the guessing game. What client files do I need to take with me? And it always happened that somebody called me with some sort of question or wanted to make a payment or something like that while I was, while I was away, and I didn't have their file with me. I had my computer with me, but I didn't have their file. So this way, I don't have to carry all that paper, and I can still actually, service my clients when I'm away, which is very nice. There's also a couple of other features I want to show you. First of all is the notes section. A lot of us do like to take notes when we speak with clients about particular trips, and this is super helpful. So you can just add a note. I usually date it, although it shows the date, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to say 7/1/19. I'm just going to say booked contemporary DDP 5-day park hopper. Discussed dining options. Need to set up MDE for client. And then I can save that. All right. And so it actually has it, I did it on the first. Usually I have this screen up when I'm talking to clients, so I don't have to date it, but you can see the date is right there. The other thing I want to show you here is the timeline, because the timeline actually shows you exactly what you did and when you did it. So you can see here that all the stuff that I just did and I just went through with you guys is all in here. So the traveling package, the supplier, the traveler information, all of that and when it was done actually shows up on the timeline. So, by keeping this up to date, even if you don't put in notes, this can actually help you in terms of, what you did and when it was requested and that sort of thing for the clients. So those are kind of the basics. I want to kind of show you, though, how you can flush out some of the extra stuff in their trip. So, we've got the basics booked, we've got a package in there. So now we kind of start to add some of the other stuff. And for Disney, a lot of times that's dining, and then it's fast passes. So you can actually add individual dining reservations onto the trip. And so that way then you've got it scheduled. So let's say that I went in and I booked dining for them at 7:30, and I'm going to have them dine at the Wave. Now I'm still working on getting these up, so you'll see a lot of these are not found, and that's okay. But you have an option here for the confirmation number, so 4966-8520-4156. Okay, whatever, it doesn't really matter. So you can actually add that in there, for them, and that'll actually show up then on their trip, so you know exactly when everything is. You can also add fast passes, which is nice. Now, the one thing I don't like about fast pass here with TESS is that it has the confirmation number, which obviously doesn't exist for a fast pass. So let's say that when they're in the park, they're going to be, let's say, over at Magic Kingdom at 8 a.m. I'm going to put them on Space Mountain. Here we go. Boom. All right. So I've got the fast pass list as updated as I think it is as of right now. So for the ones that are in there, first of all, I tell them what park it's in, and then the land that it is in, or the area. And for the ones with the height requirement, I do list that just because it's a good reminder to clients if you use this as an itinerary. So you can continue to add things to this, and you'll actually end up with a really nice, when you're done, a really nice itinerary, not only for you, but for your client. Now, the itinerary portion or the itinerary feature is only available with the advanced package in terms of being able to share that with clients. But again, it's about ease and convenience for you in terms of this. So that way then okay, they've got dining at the Wave, so I don't want to be scheduling a fast pass for them probably at 7 o'clock. That would be smart. But it gives you that place, that single place that you can go to, because we all know that You know, the My Disney experience sometimes is a little glitchy, so trying to find that is a little bit difficult. Now, this was a pretty simple trip, but I'm going to show you actually my trip from California and just show you how no, come on. Here we go, San Francisco and Disneyland. So we just went out, we just got back yesterday from going out to San Francisco and then Disneyland, and we stayed at 4 different hotels. We had actually three different ticket orders that had to be done, plus 3 different flights, 3 one-way flights, plus a bunch of dining, a rental car, and you can see that all here. Okay, so you've got our pre-night hotel stay down in Baltimore. I put in there, okay, we're taking the hotel shuttle to BWI, and we did our parking there. We were flying out to San Francisco. We picked up an Alamo rental car, got a midsize SUV. I put the reservation number for that there just because there's no place to really enter it here. It is over in the bookings though. We stayed a couple nights at the Homewood Suites by Hilton at the San Francisco airport. My daughter was actually visiting the CIA up in Napa, so we actually made a reservation up at their restaurant there, which was really nice. Again, not necessarily something that was you know, bookable or travel agent style, but it was part of our trip, so I wanted to make sure it was in there, and I had the confirmation number. Then we left to go to LA. Down on Southwest, we stayed, we took an executive car, private van, you know, went to the Disneyland Hotel, got tickets. We've got some dining packages in here for River Belle, for Carnation Cafe, the World of Color dessert party, all that kind of stuff. So put all of that in here, all the way down to the bottom. And you can see over here, we've got all of these different bookings that we've got in here. So, you know, the different mozios for the shuttle, the, you know, some of the different Walt Disney Parks and Resorts types of things. So it kept it all organized. So as the commission is coming in for each of these different components, what will happen is Rod will just simply look up those booking numbers and he'll be able to match it up to this trip, and I don't have to create 12 different trips. I just have the one trip with the 12 bookings, and if there's commission to come in for it, then it'll match up, but I've got all of those components of the trip that are there. Okay, so that's really about all that I had to kind of show you guys. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of get some information out to you guys because I think that that's important. I'm trying to think here. If you guys have any questions, you guys do have the ability to unmute yourself. So, you know, just unmute yourself and give me a shout here. I'll be, I'll stick around. Here, I'll unmute everybody. Let me do it that way. Okay. Anybody have questions?
Hey, Jen.
Yeah, who's that?
Hey, real quick. So a couple of times I've had to ask for hotels to be added, or I've had to put in a help desk ticket. It might be good just to show people quickly how to do that.
Okay.
Just
yeah. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Hang on a second here. All right, I'm just going to mute everybody again real quick. All right. Yes. Okay. All right, let me close that window out. All right, so yes, so if there's something now, some of that will depend a little bit on what you're actually looking for. There are some things that Jill and I can do as administrators. For instance, one of the tour operators that we've actually added is Logic Transportation as our transfer service, because obviously really nobody else uses him, but we need to be able to keep track of that in here. So that sort of stuff we can handle. But you're right, properties we can't. So over here on the sidebar, and I'm one of those, I kind of keep my sidebar open just because it makes it a little bit easier for me to find everything and I can switch. You want to just go to the help desk here. And at the help desk here, you're going to want to click on tickets. Now, I have the administration tab because I can kind of go in and see. But you basically go in here and you create a ticket. Okay. So you create a title and a description, the ticket type. Sometimes it's a feature request, and that's less about like if we're missing properties. It's usually more if there's like a feature of TESS, type of thing that you would like for instance, I know a lot of the agents have been, really asking for the default times on the check-in and check-outs of resorts to like default to 3 p.m. check-in, 11 a.m. check-out, just because those are kind of standard. They may vary a little bit, but it's definitely not midnight to midnight, so you're always having to change that. So you can do a problem type of thing. And you go in and you just basically type, missing property, and then just give them as much detail as you can in here. Let them know, where the property is, the exact name of the resort, and that sort of thing. Again, TESS sometimes can manually add them, but quite honestly, they rely a lot on the information that their providers kind of feed into their system. So it's something that does take a little bit of time for them, but they are able to do that. Now, I'm not going to save mine because obviously I don't need to submit a help desk ticket. So I'm just going to close that out. But that's down here on the bar. And you can see there that that's available to you as well. Ooh, there we go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna unmute everybody. Any other questions?
Yo, I'm in the hole. You can't get me.
No, you're not.
I am. I'm in the buddy hole.
I think it's a funny hole. You just always say that.
Buddy hole.
All right, I'm muting Jill.
That's a loud mouth.
She's at the airport. So, Chrissy, I apologize. For some reason, I can't seem to unmute you. So if you need something, let me know. And Katie, oh, there we go. No, I didn't get Katie. All right. Anybody else have any other questions that I can help with? No? Okay. Well, I hope you guys found this helpful. As always, if you guys have further questions, just let me know. Next week, we're going to kind of do some more advanced stuff with TESS with the basic package still. So, it's not that you have to have like the souped up $25, a month package to do the stuff that I'm going to be showing you. But some of it helps with some of the automation and tracking things for you. I can say truthfully that without TESS, my business would not continue to keep growing. I was kind of to the point where I needed something like this in order to continue to grow, and it kind of came along right at the right time. So having this automation and having this system is such a powerful tool for us to have at our disposal. And I think that, just using it to its best potential is really what it's all about for us. So. All right. Well, I thank you guys very much. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. And as always, if you guys have any other questions, just let me know. And we will talk with you guys later.
Thanks for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.
Have a good night.
You
Bye.
too, Nan. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.